I think 7 or 8 months ago I made a video talking about how a healthy Grizzlies team is really scary, which mainly means if Chandler Parsons' knees finally work, and he can be the awesome shooter that they've been looking for the last, like, 7 years, then they could be really good. At this point, I gotta be honest, respect to Chandler Parsons. I understand that his Instagram model picking up game is something to behold, but when it comes to what he's gonna do on a basketball court, I'm kind of holding out hope for the guy at this point, because his knees just seem to be shot. Now, if he's ready to go, then awesome. But if he's not ready to go, then Memphis is going to have to look for some other options in terms of just guys who can help out Mike Conley and Marc Gasol, because, of course, those two are the foundation of this team, and what they both do is pretty insane. And I feel like just with those two being healthy for an entire season, Memphis can still be pretty decent because, of course, Mike Conley is one of the better defensive point guards in the NBA today. Offensively, I mean, the dude just put up 21 points a game, shooting 46 from the field, 41% from 3, while also shooting 6 a game, 6 turnovers and a little over 2 turnovers, 6 assists with a little over 2 turnovers a game is totally fine. Conley's just an awesome point guard at 29 years old. And then you got Marc Gasol, who seems to be getting older as he... My god, my English sucks in this video. Seems to be getting better as he gets older. 32 years old, and he just had one of the best seasons you can ask for of a center, shooting nearly 40% from 3 with 3.5 a game. He's still great defensively, nearly 5 assists a game. So these two are great. And Zach Randolph is gone. I think that was kind of necessary at this point. I would have chosen JaMychal Green over Zach Randolph, given that JaMychal is younger, more athletic, and he's actually a decent three-point shooter at the power forward position, where he shot 38% this previous year. He's still not technically on the Grizzlies just yet. They're going to have to actually re-sign the guy. I assume that'll happen. He'll probably go for like $10 million or so. I don't know what's going to happen with Tony Allen. I really wouldn't want Tony starting for me, just because of what he can't do offensively. But his defense can still be fine for you. The question with these guys is always just going to be, what's the shooting? And are they going to have guys who can just space the floor for Gasol and Conley and all that? I think the interesting player who's gone under the radar is James Ennis, who is a shooting guard / small forward for them. In 24 minutes a game this previous season, Ennis shot 37% from 3 while taking about 4 a game. That's totally wrong. He took 2 a game. And he also shot about 46% from the field. Now, that's a smaller sample size, but for what he's done so far, he's shown good signs for them as a floor spacer and someone who can just be an efficient, low-usage kind of an offensive player. And given that he is not a short guy, he's 6'7", I think he does have some potential of being a defensive player for you. Could James Ennis be one of the wing players that they need going into this upcoming season? Yeah, potentially. I think as long as they just have someone who the defense actually has to care about there, then that's about all they can ask for. So you can slot him into one of the wing positions. The thing is, after him, I don't really know who your other starting wing would be if you were looking for shooting. Of course, there is Chandler Parsons. Who the hell knows with him? They recently signed Tyreke Evans. I wouldn't want to start Tyreke because, I mean, the guy's not really a shooter. He more needs the ball in his hand. I would want him in the game to be the primary ball handler with the second unit. So maybe Tony Allen would still be the right shooting guard for them, because at that point you only really have one guy who can't shoot, because you're looking at Conley, who's a good three-point shooter, James Ennis, if he ends up starting, good three-point shooter, JaMychal Green can shoot, Marc Gasol can shoot. Then you only have one guy in Tony Allen. I think that's a little bit more doable. But even then, having some more shooting could always be great for them. They signed Ben McLemore recently. They took a flyer on him. For everything you can say about McLemore, and there's quite a bit you can say, his mental game is not the best. The dude has averaged more turnovers per game than he has assists per game. And he just finished his 4th NBA season, so that's not good. But he's been a good three-point shooter. And he's an athlete, and he was in a really crappy situation in Sacramento. So perhaps one in Memphis he can just be better. He's pretty much a guy who I don't want dribbling the ball at all for me at this point. But if he can just be a spot shooter, yeah, I think that can work out as long as he's just respectable on defense. Do I think he could grow into being the starting wing for these guys? No, I wouldn't give him that much credit. And there's a decent chance he'll just fall out of the rotation. Andrew Harrison hasn't really shown himself to be a shooter of any kind. I don't know, they might be just dealt with a situation where their shooting guard isn't really going to be able to shoot like that. If you wanted to get a little crazy, you could put like Troy Daniels in there. I mean, maybe. But Tony Allen might just end up being their best starting two. But if I just talk about these guys in comparison to the rest of the Western Conference, do I think they can still be a respectable team, or are they going to drop off even more than they did this previous season where they won 43 games? I mean, look, Conley played 69 games and Marc Gasol played 74. And the problem with these guys is if either one of those dudes drops off in terms of injury, then they're kind of screwed because then they're just not going to have enough offense to actually create. I mean, even with those two, their offensive rating was still 19th in the NBA, so... But do I think they can still be a headache for the rest of the teams in the West? Yeah, definitely. But these two are going to have to be healthy for that to happen. Do I think there's some way that they could go up to another level as a team this season? Maybe jump up from their 43 wins to maybe something closer to 50 wins? I think for that to be a reality, they just need more offense. And I'm going to be honest, like, yeah, I named some guys, James Ennis, Tyreek Evans, Ben McLemore. I don't really know how much actual offense these guys can provide like that. I think Mike Conley just not missing, about 13 games. If he only misses a few games, that might be more valuable than those guys playing. I don't know. I think defensively they're still going to be fine. And then offensively, they're going to have to figure it out. You know, I mentioned yesterday's video, one guy I was talking about was Ersan Ilyasova as a potential dude who could be traded this season because he's making like $6 million. I think he would be really good for these guys as a stretch four to come in because they just need that. They need shooting. They need guys who can put some points up. So hopefully just for their sake, they actually get it. Where would I put them in the playoff race in the West right now? Once we get past the top 5, which I think Minnesota is probably the 5th best team in the West right now, I think the Grizzlies could be around that area. It's just going to matter on the offense, man.